generative AI can create code as well. So it's not just a case that this is going to say, this is what you should do. It's going to be, and this is something I firmly believe will happen in the next 2-3 years. You already have generative AI code in Microsoft, in Amazon, like Amazon Whisper, if you're a coder. But you're going to have literally a free text, like build me a website. This is my product. This is, as you said, and it will just build the website because it will be smart enough to do the code as well as understand all the permutations on, as you said.
Welcome to the eCommerce Podcast with me, your host, Matt Edmondson. The eCommerce Podcast is all about helping you deliver e-commerce wow. And to help us do just that, today I am chatting with the very amazingly talented Max Sinclair from Ecomtent, about exploring the possibilities of generative AI. But before Max and I jump into that, let me suggest a few other e-commerce podcast episodes that I think you'll enjoy listening to. How to bring the magic of Disney to your customer service with Vance Morris. What a legend Vance was doing that podcast episode. Definitely check it out. And in fact, if you're part of e-commerce cohort, Vance has also got a training in there, which you can look at in one of the sprints, which is brilliant, let me tell you. Also check out how to develop a creative strategy for your brand's advertising with Colby Flood, the legend from North Carolina. What a great guy Colby is. Do check that out. You can find these and their entire archive of episodes on our website for free at ecommercepodcast.net. On our website, you can also sign up for our newsletter. And each week we will email you these links along with the notes and the links from today's conversation with Max. They go direct to your inbox, totally free, which is amazing. Now, Max, I'm sure like you, I love to help people take their e-commerce businesses to the next level. You know what? I've been working in studying e-commerce for years, since 2002. And during that time, I've developed, well, let's just call it a unique methodology called e-commerce cycles. It's a system that helps businesses grow their revenue by identifying and exploiting opportunities. I use e-commerce cycles on my own e-commerce sites, and I also use it with my clients. And we have seen incredible growth, generating over 100 million in online revenue. So if you want to achieve the same kind of success. No, I'm not going to give you that kind of guarantee. But what I am going to say is we have got some free training that will take you through the e-commerce cycle methodology and show you exactly how we use it in our business. So if you're in e-commerce, I'm getting a bit tongue-tied today. If you're in e-commerce, check it out. Head to ecommercecycles.com for more information. Do check that out. It's a free training. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. So let's talk about Max. Now, Max is the CEO and founder of Ecomtent, who are revolutionizing how e-commerce sellers create content with generative AI. Sounds all very posh, doesn't it? Now, prior to founding Ecomtent, which is it's a word you get when you merge e-commerce and content together. Max has spent 6 years at Amazon. Yes, he has, where he worked on the launch of Amazon here in the UK, Amazon Business here in the UK, should I say, the country launch of Amazon.sg, which, if you're not in the know, is in Singapore, and the launch of Amazon Grocery across the UK. The man's done it all, it seems, with Amazon. And throughout his time, he has worked directly with hundreds of sellers of all sizes across many categories, and he saw the pain. Oh yes, which we can all identify with. The pain of creating content for e-commerce firsthand. So hence, I'm guessing, Max, the reason you started Ecomtent. Welcome to the show. Great to have you. Great that you're here. How are we doing?
Thank you. No, very excited. Great to be here. As I said, fan of the podcast, so it's really cool to be on it. And yeah, excited to get going and talk about generative AI.
Oh, absolutely. It's great to have you. Now, you have a decidedly British accent. Are you calling from the good old islands of the UK, or are you one of these sort of...
less
Yes,
less exciting than your other guests. I'm sitting here in London.
No, not at all. You know what you can't do when you talk to guests is assume from their accent where they're from, because everyone now has a digital nomad visa, don't they? And they're all working in very posh climates. and very tropical places. So I just wanted to clarify, you are in fact dialing in from the great city of London itself.
There we go. Exactly. West Hampstead, to be even more specific.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, did you, when you worked at Amazon, did you work at Amazon's HQ in the centre of London then?
Yep, I in Shoreditch also have worked in, as you said in the intro, in the Singaporean office. I've been to the Milan office. I've been to Luxembourg, Bratislava. I at one point helped manage the sales team in Bratislava. So yeah, being
Well,
global with Amazon.
being global.
Yeah.
Well, there is a chance we may have crossed paths down at Amazon HQ in London, as I've been to that building many times. It's just, it's a
Possibly.
really, yeah. It would be ironic if we had. So you worked at Amazon. Let's jump into this, right? So you worked
Yes.
in Amazon, and we said in the bio that you saw the sort of the pain of creating e-commerce content sort of firsthand. Was that what led you down this journey of generative AI? Was there? I'm just curious because it's a heck of a leap,
Sure.
but from Amazon to
Yeah,
eComtent.
yeah. So I guess what really was the inspiration was this kind of onset of generative AI itself, and I think I kind of saw the saw the potential, and with my co-founder, we kind of launched a business which was within both of our understanding. So yes, like I understand the pain that sellers have when they're creating content, but more, I
Mm,
mean, if I'm being honest, more generally, like I think the power of generative AI is transformative. I think it's going to transform pretty much every industry that every industry. I mean, I can go into a bit more details about what generative AI specifically is, because I think a
mm,
lot of listeners will be saying, "Oh, AI has been around for ages, right? Like, what do everyone's heard of AI. We're kind of very used to AI, artificial intelligence in Google Ads, in all sorts of stuff, right? But this is
mm,
really a big technological shift that has happened in the last few years and has been commercialized really in the last few months,
mm.
and that's kind of what really excites me. And yeah, I'm looking to bring this to an industry that I know well, and that's kind of what motivated me.
Okay, so well, let's deal with that straight away then. So we used this
Yes.
phrase generative AI in the bio. You just got to mentioned it there. And like you say, AI has been around for a while, but generative AI is quite a new thing. So what do you mean? Let's
Yeah.
differentiate terms. What do you mean by those
Definitely.
things?
So I'm gonna label kind of AI as everybody knows it as deterministic AI. And this deterministic AI was kind of conceived in the 1950s and kind of commercialized in the 1980s. And what you have here is a computer able to mimic the problem-solving capabilities of a human to complete analysis on big data sets and broadly either do data classifications or regressions. So what you
Mm,
do is you feed in a large data set, and the machine will tell you this is type A or type B, or this is a regression and how these numbers relate to each other. And it's used, in medicine. It's used, we use it at Amazon to kind of identify like are these ASINs parent and child ASINs attributes? Should we merge them? This kind of question. What's happened very recently, really commercialized in kind of the back end of 2022,
mm,
is a second wave of AI, which is called generative AI. And this is where a computer is able to produce entirely new content, so new images, new video, new text, new code. And what happens here is you train a machine on the patterns and characteristics of the input data, and then you use it to kind of generate new and similar content. And this is a big step, because in deterministic AI, the answer was really in the data. So you're kind
mm,
of you're looking at large pieces of the data and saying this is your answer for what your question, be it how these relate or how should I target this person with this ad. Your answer's in there. With
yeah.
generative AI, you're kind of you're creating new things. So you're kind of
Hmm.
saying this is a data, now make it look like this or do this or do that, and you're creating new content. um and this is gonna, I mean, I can go even a level more deeper if we want to, but like this is kind of this is a step change. And I think it's going to have really, really broad consequences everywhere. And it's very exciting. So yeah, I think what kind of being staying on top of this and bringing it to e-commerce and tailoring it to sellers to help them is what is driving me, and the reason why I started eComtent.
Yeah. So generative, I mean, it all sounds very exciting, but it all sounds a bit Terminator. Do you know what I mean? That Skynet's going to
Yes.
take over the world and destroy us all. It was interesting. At the time of recording this, as you may or may not know, dear listener, when we record the e-commerce podcast and when it goes live, there's usually quite a significant time difference between the two. Or at least there is at the moment. We're making steps to change that. But at the time of recording, last week, I did a LinkedIn Live I do this thing called on a Monday lunchtime, the LinkedIn live chat show type thing. So if you're on LinkedIn on a Monday, come join in. Connect with me on LinkedIn, you'll see it's there. And last week, I was on ChatGPT, which is probably the most in the news generative AI system that I can think of at the moment, right? And
100%.
I just put into that ChatGPT thing, what are the top 5 trends that I need to be aware of in e-commerce for 2023? And it was just really interesting, some of the answers that it came up with. So what you're saying is the answers that OpenChat came up with were all completely generated. It's all new, fresh content. It wasn't like it just went to a blog post, copied and pasted. How did it come up with those 5 answers then?
Okay, so I'll go very quickly into the technical explanation, and apologies, but I think it's quite interesting just to understand like what's happening.
Yeah.
Generative AI uses something called Generative Adversarial Network, and basically you have 2 networks in here. You have the first network is a generator, and you give it a load of input data. In ChatGPT's case, this is all the text on the internet up to 2021, which is important, and I'll come back to why that's important.
Yeah.
But you give it all the data up to 2021. The machine in the generator learns the patterns and characteristics of that content and then tries to create new content similar to that. And then you have a second one called the discriminator, which is trained to distinguish real content from generated content. So it's presented with the original content, it sees the content from the generator, and it basically goes yes, no, in microseconds of does this look like the original content or not? And this all happens, trillions of times a second. And then once the generator fools the discriminator enough, then it publishes the content. So it looks like the original content. So this is kind of what's happening. When we talk about generative AI, which is, as I say, it's a big technological shift on how we think about like machine intelligence. I'll just to return to the point that you said on ChatGPT, I want to just explain a point here, which is ChatGPT, and I think we'll go into some ways that I would recommend using it, because at the moment it's free. I don't know when this is published, it might cost $42 a month. I don't know, but at the moment it's a free tool to use as we're recording. But what it is a language model, and it's the point of a language model is as I said, is to generate patterns and text similar to the data that it's trained on. This is not accurate data. This is it's trained to sound like a human talking, and it's trained to give you an answer that sounds correct, but it's not necessarily accurate. So we should always there's some very useful ways of using ChatGPT, which we'll probably go into later in the podcast. But we should always have that in mind, that what this is doing is creating content that sounds correct. It's not giving me accurate content. And I can give you an interesting example of this. My girlfriend's brother is a doctor, and when he puts in ChatGPT, some medical questions, it will then give to him like a medical kind of article as an answer, as it's trained to, right? If you ask it to write in the spirit of Shakespeare, or do it in Shakespeare, blah blah blah. But then what we'll do is we'll completely make up the references, because it's seen online that these come from references, and you should reference random professional sounding names. So it kind of gives you this medical answer with references which don't exist. So, and that's because that's what it's trained to do, is to kind of replicate the data that it's trained on. So it is super useful, and there's many ways that we should use it, but we should always know fundamentally what the technology is and what it's supposed to be doing.
That's really interesting. And the other thing that you mentioned about ChatGPT is the data that feeds it only goes up to 2021.
Yes. So this is, so I mean, this is another point, right? That the data is, they say officially it's a 2021. I think there have been, I mean, I follow this stuff as I'm sure many listeners do on LinkedIn. So there's been like, it's a live model, they're training it, right? And I think they might be updating parts of it just to kind of experiment. But officially, it's only been trained until 2021. So it's not the most up to date, but I'm not sure if you're aware, but they're kind of working on GTP4 right now, and this is going to increase the number of parameters, so the number of data sets that the machine is trained on, from 175 billion to 100 trillion. So what this is to kind of these numbers are really hard to contextualize, but to contextualize it, this is like going from earning 500K a year to 285 million dollars or
Wow.
pounds a year.
Yeah.
So it's an enormous upgrade. Like, it's an upgrade kind of, is, forget like iOS updates. What you're going to be able to do with GTP4, the rumors are, is you're going to be able to interact with both text and speech. So you could talk to it and get your answer. And kind of at the moment you use it and it's amazing, but like with GTP4, you could use it and write a 60,000 page book from a single prompt. So the speed at which this technology is moving is incredible. And yeah, it's just a super exciting space, in my opinion.
It's a really interesting one, isn't it? Because one of the things that came up in my little LinkedIn conversation last week, Max, and I'm kind of curious to see where, because you're involved in AI, is where you
Yes.
sit on this. Because if I can go to ChatGPT and tell it with a single prompt to write a book for 60,000 words,
Yes.
that book's not really come from me, has it? And there's a sort of this fine line, isn't it? I could go and market. I mean, there are people on YouTube now. I've seen the videos; they pop up in my feed. I've not watched them. I have to be honest with you. But the use ChatGPT to write your first book and publish on Amazon. Turn yourself into a millionaire
Wow.
kind of thing. And it's a really interesting conundrum, isn't it? Because all of a sudden, creation in some way stops being from the creator. It starts being from the machine. And I'm just really curious. I don't know if I have an answer, Max, but I feel like there's this sort of very big gray area with AI. And I'm not quite sure. I get excited by AI and some of the things it can do, but some of the other things, like being able to write a book with a single prompt, I don't know how I feel about that, if I'm honest with you.
Well, I think what I would say is it's terrifying in some level, but also it's very exciting. And what I would also say is that, like, this is coming, and it's coming for every single industry. Um, and like, I was kind of out to dinner last night with friends of mine. One of them is a lawyer, and I was explaining to them, like, what you're going to have in the future is you're going to have a generative AI model trained on all the law in the UK. You're going to give it a prompt like, my neighbor has built a fence over blah blah blah, and it's kind of blocking my sunlight, and and it will just give you the answer, because it's like, ChatGPT can't do this, and I think this is the difference between like an open source model, which is like ChatGPT, and kind of a private model, which is like what we have at Ecomtent, and like what you would have where you say, okay, I'm going to build like a ChatGPT for law, and I'm actually going to make it correct for law, which is
Yeah.
not, it's not ChatGPT. You couldn't do this with the law,
Yeah.
but and I mean, it's going to come. It's going to come for every industry. So I think the genie is out the bottle, right? Like,
Yeah, it is.
you can. There's kind of there's no going back from this. But I think it's very exciting. Like, I'm a firm believer that kind of technological advances are good for humanity. If you take us all 1,000 years ago, we were all, 80-90% of us were working in agriculture as serfs. It's pretty miserable, with terrible, no education, terrible diet, terrible life expectancy. And now we're kind of, probably everyone listening to this podcast has got a job which is far more exciting than working in a field, and that's based on technological advances. And the population in the UK has grown from 1.5 million to 70 odd million, and we have 4% unemployment. And pretty much there are obviously still some farmers, but they're doing it at a much better scale thanks to technology. And everyone else is doing jobs that would be completely impossible to imagine if you were a serf in the Middle Ages. So I don't think that technology is something to be scared of, and I also don't buy the argument that we are now at the forefront of some revolution which is so much better than any other revolution we've seen, because that's exactly what the Victorians thought when they're looking at like the steam engine, and that's exactly what everyone thought at their when you're looking at your period of your life, you're like, okay, this is much bigger than ever before. But if you look at human history, technology has definitely been a benefiter, and there's kind of there's a lot of progress that we could make with it. So it is scary in some sense, and the world is going to change, but I think it's very exciting.
Yes, and like I totally agree. I think it's a really interesting turning point, isn't it? It's I'm kind of curious to see what happens to the lawyer when I mean, I actually have a barrister friend of mine who is actively working on the legal version of this kind of AI type thing.
There we go.
It's really fascinating what he's getting into, and the amount he has to spend on computers just to do the processing is just unbelievable. Anyway, eye-watering amounts of money. But so I'm just kind of curious to see what happens to that lawyer and the transition that has to happen to take place. I can see, for me, one of the things that I would pay money for actually, is if I didn't have to worry about social media. How do I build an Instagram following? There's this AI system over there that goes and sort of examines your niche, and it will create all the content for you. It will build your following. It will do it all in an organic way. It will be totally natural, brilliant. There you go. And it will.
That's what we're trying to build. That's what we're trying to do right now.
Well, I'm your first subscriber, man. Let me. Here's my Instagram login. Go for it. Because I can see. But again, I mean, as soon as it starts doing that, in a few years' time, people will just stop watching social media because they're just going to. Well, maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know. It'll be an interesting one. So. Ecomtent then. So we're in the midst of this sort of technological revolution, and it's both exciting and it's scary, and there are inevitable opportunities for the savvy e-commerce entrepreneur, right? And so for you, I'm guessing you've looked at that and gone, right, this is where we fit in with Ecomtent. We're going to create some stuff over here which e-commerce guys can use. That is generative AI. We're going to build on that technology. We're going to help you guys rock and roll with it. So what sort of things then are you guys doing and playing with right now?
So I can say what we're doing right now, which is we are creating product images and lifestyle images. So what we do is similar to how I explained how the technology works. We train a private AI model on 3 to 5 photos of a product, and then we use generative AI to put that product in any scenario with someone of any ethnicity, any gender, any any background based on the prompt. So you could say, I mean, on our website, for example, we've got the kind of demo video of this elephant toy, and you could say, from the website, we go like, put it with a child on a beach, and you see this elephant toy being held by a child on the beach. And this is kind of step one, and we have like a very exciting roadmap. The ambition is to create all content which is more optimized using generative AI. So that's descriptions, bullet points, A+ content, everything we want to do.
Yeah.
But right now we focus on the hardest bit, which is the lifestyle imagery. Because we know like that's very painful. To kind of organize these shoots is a pain, and it's costly, and it takes ages. So we do that with generative AI, and you can kind of create thousands of images instantly with our self-service tool. So yeah, that's what we're doing. That's what we're focused on right now.
So if I'm just kind of curious here, Max, if I'm honest with you, because our product shots are 3D renders on our e-commerce websites, because they're so realistic now. You get much better lighting. You get exactly how you want it, right? And it's easy to do for our products. I've got to admit, like with our supplement brand, for example, it's a cylindrical bottle with a label on the front. I mean, it can't get really that much easier, in terms of 3D generation. We still use a photographer to do the lifestyle shots. Now, obviously, they are restricted to. I don't pay them to go all over the world and generate these shots. They sort of do them here, so I'm restricted to what is available to me here in Liverpool in those photo shoots. So I'm intrigued by what you do. So I'm thinking of the elephant on the beach.
Yeah.
Is your system then taking a picture of a beach and the elephant and just being really creative with Photoshop? Or is this beach which it's generating a beach which has never ever been seen
Exactly,
before?
correct. Exactly. So we have private data sets we train it on, but basically it's hundreds of millions of images. And then it will create a net new image based on your prompt. So if you say a beach, at sunset, it's going to kind of understand our model will understand what a person's product is, the customer's product is, and then it will kind of build that product into a scene, amalgamating all of the photos on the internet of whatever the background is and whoever the person is interacting. And I want to make an important point, like, this is not kind of the kind of background removal, kind of swapping a background, which you kind of see everywhere. This is kind of creating a new photo. So your elephant with a child in natural setting, held as, and it's kind of understood like this is the elephant toy, is similar to a teddy bear. The teddy bears are held by children. We've got like millions of images of how they hold them and how they interact with them and the smart, and it kind of will recreate an image similar to that, but fundamentally a new image that's never been seen before, and also would never be generated again exactly the same if you gave it the same prompt a million times over.
Wow. So you've got some really clever computers at GCHQ.
Yeah, I have a fantastic CTO who is a PhD in AI and is super smart and is kind of building these very complex models.
Yeah, no kidding, no kidding. So that's the lifestyle shots then, and I
Yes.
can see how that can work. I'm going to go check out the site and play is what I'm going to do. I want to see the elephant thing, because yesterday I was on. We use a system called, I don't know if you've heard of it, called Jasper.ai. Helps us write some content.
Yes, I know Jasper.ai. Yeah.
It's mixed reviews from me, really. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. They've got this image generation feature on there. And yesterday I was like, can you generate for me an image of $1 trillion bill? Because eCommerce for the first time has gone through the $1 trillion mark or whatever it is. So I'm like, I'd like to talk about this on one of our LinkedIn lunchtime events. I'd like this image. Could not do it. And it may be the prompts that I were putting in or what. It was just really interesting. So there are times when it's good and bad. And I get how this stuff is helpful.
I think the different Jasper kind of pretty much use open source models, which means it's a bit like ChatGPT. They're generic. They can basically do anything, but not everything well, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas if you had, in that case, like a trained model on creating like artwork on banknotes, which is very niche, but like you could imagine someone like if there's a huge demand for this particular request, then you'd be able to do it brilliantly. So it's just a question of like this model is kind of a generic open source model, and therefore like it can do it can get pretty good at most things, versus like a private model which is going to then like be very specific at like understanding British law or like understanding artwork on this whatever.
Yeah, I get the power of that as well because, like you say, these systems work as well as the data you feed it. So if you're creating an AI system which generates A+ content and all you're doing is analyzing A+ content from really successful listings, which you're going to know from your days at Amazon, then I look at that and go, that's going to create much better resources for me than say Jasper, and so therefore I like that because that's where it gets really, really clever.
Exactly. That's the goal of what we're doing. Like I think we're going to move to a world where like you have a lot of open source models, and then a lot of people building like private models for specific industries or whatever, kind of using the latest technological advances, but then like using that in a sense like, okay, let's apply this to whatever we're doing, and kind of building that and using specific data sets, like, as you say, all the best performing A+ content, to kind of generate the best outcome for customers.
Really interesting. Really interesting. I do wonder, Max, whether at some point you're going to get clever enough where I don't even have to have a, like you go to a web design agency, like, right, design for me an e-commerce website.
Yeah.
And they'll charge you whatever, 30 grand, 40 grand, 50 grand, whatever the price is these days.
Yeah.
It's $100 if you go to Shopify. It's probably 120, 150 grand if you go to a big Magento agency. And if you're, and somewhere in between or whatever. So I'm going to go and spend, say, 30 grand on a website design. Is it going to get to the place where actually I go to people like you and I say, listen, this is my product. I think these are my target customers who will buy this product based on the research that I've done. I feed those parameters into an engine and it goes, right, we think based on that data, this is going to be the best website for you, both in your colors, in layout, in branding. Here's some content we think you should put on there. Oh, and by the way, if a man in his 30s comes on, and we know that we're going to tweak it around so the colors are slightly different, and the website almost morphs and changes depends who comes on it.
I think you're completely right, and that's kind of like our like vision statement we have here, which is like unimaginable creativity. Like, we think this unlocks unimaginable creativity for all of the creative people we work with, all the social media managers, all the brand owners, etc., and also limitless personalization, because now you can just create an infinite amount of content, right? You can personalize it to an infinite degree, as you said. So you could have like the man in his 30s, he sees this; the woman in her 60s, she sees that. And I want to add one more thing, which is like, generative AI can create code as well. So it's not just a case that this is going to say, this is what you should do. It's going to be, and this is something I firmly believe will happen in the next 2-3 years. You already have generative AI code in Microsoft, in Amazon, like Amazon Whisper, if you're a coder. But you're going to have literally a free text, like, build me a website. This is my product. This is, as you said, and it will just build the website, because it will be smart enough to do the code as well as understand all the permutations on, as you said. So I think that's definitely coming. It's not something that we're not focused on that particular thing, but we're going to see, I'd bet a good amount of money that we're going to have kind of generative AI, web site creations and app creations in the not too far off future.
So everything that you've talked about, code is very two-dimensional. Text is very two-dimensional. Images are very two-dimensional. Are we getting to the place, I mean, I see it a little bit with deepfake videos, but are we getting to the place where actually I'm going to be able to create TV shows, for want of a better expression, using generative AI?
I think I think we're probably further off from that, but like, we're looking at videos. Like, we know that videos are more kind of get higher engagement on social media, and also like best practice to have like a mini video on your Amazon listings, you probably know well. So we're definitely, like, video is on a horizon. I don't think the tech is there now, but I think that's not beyond the realms of reality. I think this is going to really shift. This is really going to shift most things. I think it'd be hard to number the things that generative AI won't touch, rather than talk about like what it will do. Because like, if you're taking it back to basics, like, you're just creating new stuff, right? Which is what most people do in their jobs day to day. Like, and if that can be done more optimized, quicker, faster, better, with more data sets, like, it's hard to see where it doesn't touch.
This can be really interesting, and I'm very tempted to go off in this conversation which says, will Netflix not actually have any shows? It's gonna understand who you are as a person and show you stuff. It's gonna make stuff up on the fly that only you see. But let's bring it back to a bit more stuff that we can do today, right? So, if I'm sat here, right, and I'm listening to you going, Max, this all sounds very intriguing, but If you were starting an Amazon business today, or if you were starting maybe not Amazon, maybe your own online e-commerce website today, or you've been around for a while, but you've not really hit the AI thing yet. I mean, you've heard a few things on it, and you've maybe played on ChatGPT. What are some of the things that I should be thinking about as that kind of person? What things are going to really help me in e-commerce?
Sure. So I'll start with the ChatGPT because at the moment, at time of recording, as I say, it's free. And by the way, I think they've done the most incredible marketing campaign
Oh,
ever,
it's been
which is
unbelievable.
to
Yeah.
release it for free, get everyone on all these podcasts and LinkedIn to be like, these are the ways you can use it, and then just
Yeah, yeah.
charge
And
a
it's
few
charged.
months later.
I've already had the
Brilliant.
email saying it's going to be 42 or whatever it is
There,
bucks a month.
okay,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
I haven't. I mean, I use it almost daily, and I haven't done it yet. I don't know. Anyway, I think to answer your question, so you're a new e-commerce person. Number one thing I would do is to let's say you know that you want to go into a specific category like toys, because we talked about toys. So I think the first thing you could do is to use ChatGPT to help you analyze the reviews on competitors and understand what customers are looking for in terms of what they like and what they dislike, and you can flip it either way. But you can literally say, as long as this, by the way, again, as long as the ASIN is before 2021, or you kind of copy and paste manually. If it's an old ASIN, you can just paste in the link to
Yeah.
ChatGPT. If it's a newer ASIN, you could just copy in all of the customer reviews, paste that in, and then say analyze reviews on this. But you could say, analyze reviews on this ASIN. Tell me what the customers love, or give me product recommendations, and then it will kind of spit out like the key takeaways for you to look at. And then that will kind of set you off to say, okay, people love this toy, but they've complained that it's got a few defects and the stuffing's uneven, or that it's not, the size is it's too small and they thought it'd be bigger by the photos, or blah blah blah, whatever. So that kind of gives you an idea of, this is my product that I want to launch. Another good way of
Sorry,
using.
before you get into the
Yes.
second one, Max, let me just clarify something there. So I could go and grab the URL off an Amazon product listing,
Yes.
paste that into ChatGPT and with a command which says something along the lines of analyze the reviews on this page and tell
Yes.
me, the things that people love about this product and the things that people really, that what are the main complaints
Don't
about
like.
this
Yeah.
product. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hit the enter button. I'm sorry to be oversimplistic. I need it to be simple for me to understand. Hit the enter button and it's going to come up with a whole bunch of recommendations for me. Is it as simple as that, or
As
do
simple
I
as
need
that.
to
As
be
simple as that.
okay? So I don't need to
Literally as
be more
simple as that.
descriptive in my commands.
I think there's a very interesting point, which is like prompt engineering is going to become a very important like future job type, where
Yeah,
like how do you interact with the AI? Like, what are the best prompts to say? I mean, I've got a few things that I've noticed which I can share, which I use when I'm writing blogs for my website or whatever, which have been interesting. But yes, like it's as simple as that. You say, give me 5 takeaways on like what people love, or give me 5 takeaways for product improvement, or whatever, and it will
yeah,
understand that and it'll give it to you. So that's kind of a very good starting point. Um, if you wanted to start with start a business, as you said, on like with a D2C business.
that's incredible. Okay, I've got that. That was number one. What's number
Yes.
two?
So you've got your product, you've done all the hard stuff, which is manufacturing and everything else. I guess next, at some point you're going to have to look at keywords, SEO, that kind of stuff. So and I've used this in my business. I say, give me literally give me a list of 100 search phrases for a startup that sells self-service tool to create lifestyle images with generative AI, and it will just give you 100 keywords, and it will say. And what's
Wow.
brilliant is that I'm obviously British, and I like will think, like I've phrased. If you read the website or whatever, it's obviously they come from me, and like I have a certain way of talking about my business. But like what you can do with ChatGPT is think about 100 ways of like describing the same thing, and like
Mm.
all of not all of them are going to be great, but it's helpful to see, okay, these are some things that I've missed, like these are some keywords which are interesting or whatever, and I can better optimize your your Amazon bidding or whatever, or your Google, based on that. So I guess that would be my number two.
Okay, so I'm just trying to. So you're now using ChatGPT for keyword research.
Yeah. Again, it's not I know what ChatGPT is, which is a natural language model, and therefore like is very good at doing natural language. So it will rephrase things very well for me. So like, you know, it can be a bit of a mouthful explaining what I do, because it's a new technology and it's whatever. But like using that will help me like
Yeah.
see 10 different ways I can, or 10 different potential Google searches, or whatever, or 10 different keywords exactly.
Okay.
So I mean, it's not based off any like it's not based off any inherent data, but it's just it's a good reference point to see different phrases and keywords.
So do you? I'm just trying to think. I mean, it's great you can use it for SEO and keywords. I think
Hmm.
extrapolating that out, I'm thinking, can you use it then, or how would you use it? Because can is a wrong phrase. How would you use it to generate, say, content ideas for your blogs, for
Yes.
example? So
This is
is
a
that
this is a great one. Oh, that's yeah. So you can like again, it's it's very good at understanding language. So if you say, you gave the example of your what was your product you said? The kind of the
the
cylinder
supplement? Yeah, the
supplement.
supplement. Yeah.
So you could say write a blog or write an Instagram ad targeting this supplement at British men in their early 30s, and it would write you um, an ad which like is using British slang, using kind of British calls to action, like the gym, the office. Like it will understand all that very well, and then you could say, okay, now do it for 50s to 60s women, and it'll give you completely different slang and well, phrases, and like how they would use it. And I mean, like this is something that's brilliant, that is very good at. So if you kind of put in like, yeah, write an Instagram ad for my supplement, this is my target market, you can generate 50 different texts, and then you can swap your target market, and it can kind of show you different, like it will, again, it's a good way to kind of, oh, I didn't think of that, because like I'm not a woman in my 60s, but now like I've got this, and it's good for giving you some ideas for sure.
Wow. And again, you're just literally heading over to ChatGPT and typing that in the
Yes.
in the in
Yeah.
the this is I'm really intrigued. The more you're talking and
Hmm.
the more I understand what you mean by this idea of prompt engineering. The people
Yes.
that know what to type into ChatGPT then become
Yeah.
the ones which are currently going to be the ones which are highly sought after, right? Because
Yeah, definitely.
the data you get out is all dependent on the prompts that you write and the information that you
Yes.
give it. So what are
And you
some of the?
need,
Go
yeah,
on.
go on. I just say like it helps to have an understanding of the model, what it's trained on, what the data sets are, because like different, again, ChatGPT is a generic model trained on, like, we don't know what it's trained on, but they say it's trained on data on the internet before 2021.
Yeah.
They could have trained it on, they could have, I imagine they did ignore specific websites, and otherwise it'd be saying horrible things about certain people if they had kind of trained it on the the entire internet. So like, so we didn't really know but it's trained on, but like for our, for our private models, we know what it's trained on, we know what works well, we can like tailor it to specific categories, which we do. um and that kind of, yeah. So I guess that's a big thing that we're thinking about, is like, how can we help customers as prompt engineering. um for example, we do a lot of work in furniture, and we like train it on different rooms, aesthetics, rustic room, Scandi room, modern room. But it's about like, how do we communicate to the customer, like, that this is what the model knows and understands and has been trained on, and like it understands different furniture types. So you can put your armchair in like a classic, rustic room by a fireplace, and that'd be brilliant. And then you could put it in a like a modern, whatever, and like it understands different, like a French style room, and like a what like different cult, like a Dubai kind of suite, and it's all golden. So like, how do you, yeah. So that's a big thing as well, that like we think about every day. It's kind of, it's you can really do anything, but like, how do we help people to like understand the technology and understand like what works well, in what we've designed it to work, well, right? Which is like category specific for us.
So what are some of the prompt discoveries you've made using ChatGPT then? Which is just the
I'll
one
give you
that everyone. Yeah.
my personal top tip, which is, and I will, I will not make we're both British. I will not make a comment on Boris Johnson's politics because it's not what I'm going to do. But the man is undeniably an extremely talented writer. He was a journalist for 40 years or however long he was a
Yeah.
journalist for, and he has a very distinctive kind of upbeat, charismatic writing style.
Yeah.
That's quite unique and actually quite engaging to read. Again, like I'm not gonna I'm not commenting on the him as a political figure. I'm talking about him as a journalist. And
Yeah.
I have noticed, or I know that it's the ChatGPT seems to have been trained on a lot of articles, and many of those articles have been written by Boris Johnson, who's pumped out thousands, nearly as many articles as children over his time as a journalist. And it's if you write a blog, it can be quite boring, and like this is the thing. And then I will say, rewrite this in the style of Boris Johnson, make it jovial yet informative, and you will have this kind of brilliantly upbeat, fun kind of style of blog writing. So if you head over to the blog on my website, hopefully you'll see the blogs are quite entertaining. I mean, they're not like hilarious, but they're kind of they're more entertaining, and that's because I've kind of copied. I've as he probably has done many times. I've copied his writing style for
Brilliant.
So that's one that I use.
Okay, so you're using ChatGPT to write blogs in the style of Boris Johnson.
Yes.
You're using it to find keywords, content ideas, understand products. Is there anything else that we need to think about?
The last one I'll go into is natural language translation. Again, like remembering what ChatGPT is, it's natural language. So if you do Google like no good seller should ever be doing Google Translate for their ASINs. Like no. But if you say rewrite this ASIN in German, use German, phrases, and it will kind of, I don't speak German, but I've tested this in Spanish with my Spanish friends. Rewrite this in Spanish using Spanish phrases, and it will write it in very coherent Spanish using kind of like phrases. You like different languages, so we have kind of many metaphors and synonyms which translate and make zero sense in other languages.
Yeah.
And like making a mountain out of a molehill or something like this, which like if you translate it into Spanish, like would just make zero sense. And that's kind of one of the challenges of translation, is that like a deterministic AI will translate verbatim, word for word, and it will sound weird, whereas a generative AI understands the key themes and the key concepts of the listing, and then it will translate that into the other language, and it'll create like net new phrases and synonyms and metaphors to replace ones you had. So that's that would be kind of my fifth tip. Or like I'd say with ChatGPT is it's very good at natural language translation. That's literally kind of like what the research. That's how this was discovered. Like the initial research into GANs and everything I talked about at the beginning was initially thinking about translation and how do you solve for that translation problem. So it's excellent at doing that, and I'd recommend using it.
Fantastic. So there you go. Top tips for using ChatGPT's tool, which is technically still free, although I think at some point, like you say, they're going to start charging.
You've got to get this podcast out quickly, Matt. Otherwise,
otherwise you just have to pay the full. To be fair, exactly. It's still worth. If you're going to do all of that, it's still worth the $40 a month, right? So just subscribe and have a go and see how you get on. Now. What I need is an affiliate link for ChatGPT.
I can give you one for eComtent. Unfortunately, I'm not I'm not Sam Altman. No,
it's fine. But so let's talk about eComtent then. So I'm really curious in the last few minutes of the show, bearing in mind that we've talked about, there's free stuff. Obviously, eComtent will be a paid system, but it's going to be much more niche, right? And I get that because you've not got Bill Gates business. Or whoever funding.
No, no, we don't.
So where do you see the future going for you guys? What sort of things do do you
Oh,
think will be starting to happen?
For us specifically, I'm super excited. As I say, like the goal of Ecomtent is to bring this generative AI revolution to the e-commerce industry. Like I've worked with hundreds of sellers. I've got many friends who are sellers. Many professional relationships I've built over the years. Um, I really kind of admire. I've always admired their kind of entrepreneurial spirit and their kind of savviness, like super savvy, the savviest people I've come across. And we're just going to focus on like bringing generative AI to e-commerce. And one of the things we
Mm,
haven't done so far is text. And the reason is like I didn't want to charge. I didn't want to even begin to charge people for something which was fundamentally free in ChatGPT. Now it's not free. Well, when it's not free, I think it's very interesting because like that gives us the opportunity to say like if you want to use generative AI for descriptions and bullet points, like you can pay $42 a month at um, at OpenAI. Like our prices are
mm.
pretty much similar, but also we'll be doing it specifically for like Amazon descriptions and Amazon bullet points. So I think that's something that we'd definitely be focused on. As I mentioned, we want to go to all content, so that's video, text, as I just said. Um, what else? I think we want to look at. We want to continue to look at optimization and make sure that like we're creating like optimized content based on
Mm.
like likes and this kind of stuff. So it's super exciting space. We're we're like very wary of kind of like DALI and these free tools, and we're very focused on number one thing we're focused on is quality. And like if you do use our tool, you'll see like the images of the products. They're never weird, or like
Mm.
they're hardly ever like only like 1% or 2% of them are kind of weird like AI kind of stuff. Like we continue always to focus on quality. We want to be the we want to be the best at this, and like as competition comes, which I'm sure it will, we want to just be the leader that you can't
Yeah.
trade in. Maybe people will undercut us in price, but like we'll still be the best in terms of like building images that look super realistic, and you can take your product anywhere.
Yeah, and I think you've got a real. I'm curious to see where your journey takes you, Matt, because I think you've got a real interesting competitive edge in all the time you spent in Amazon. And I can
Yes.
see why you would double
I
down on
manage
that side of things.
yeah, exactly. I manage catalog quality for the launch of Amazon Singapore, so I kind of really understand this space. So it's quite fortunate, and
Yeah,
so yeah.
it's a really interesting thing. So, Max, listen, it's been great chatting to you. It really has. How do
Good
people
talk.
reach you? How do they connect with you if they want to do that?
So we have a 20% off promo code at our website, which is eComtent, ECOMTENT.ai/promo, and that will give people 20% off if they want to try the tool. You can also book a demo. So yeah, like just head over to ecomtent.ai, and you can see everything we've talked about there, and hopefully depending on when this is released, you may see more of the stuff we've talked about already there, or maybe we'll still be on the lifestyle images depending. But yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, so do check it out. eComtent, the merging of e-commerce and content .ai. Do look
Yeah.
at that. Max, my last question for you, right? The question I've started to ask everybody. Um,
Yeah.
Imagine you're in a room, hotel room.
Yeah.
You've just delivered your keynote on how generative AI is going to transform everyone's life.
Hmm.
All the lawyers in the room are jumping up, going, "Woohoo! We no longer have to do case law." All the marketeers are going, "Woohoo! I no longer have to write product descriptions and do social media." I'm curious, right? Whilst you're stood there and you're standing ovation, you get to thank people who've had a big impact on you.
Yes.
Family, mentors, authors, software, podcasts, whatever. Who do you thank and why?
Um, God, I mean, like the first person that jumped out to me would be my CTO because he's incredibly hardworking, and he has built all he's built all of this stuff that we've talked about and all of these crazy ideas and made it possible. So I think like he is the real brains behind the operation. My girlfriend for putting up with all of it, my parents, I don't know. I'd say
I like that.
I'd say yeah.
Well done, girlfriend. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, congratulations to her. So yeah. Oh, thank you. I
Fantastic.
mean, Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, it's fantastic. It's interesting, isn't it? You've how you talk about your CTO and how actually the technology behind this needs very clever
Yes.
people. And I'm smiling in some respects because my son is doing a master's degree in theoretical physics and is looking a lot into AI at the moment.
There we
And
go.
so really fascinating to see where it all goes. Listen,
Good for him.
Max.
Good for him. I wish I'd done that. So there we
Glad
go.
I didn't. Some of the stuff he talks about, I mean, me. People are much easier to understand. So listen, Max, thanks for coming on the show, man. Great to connect with you. Great to have this conversation about AI. No doubt we'll have you on. Look forward to seeing the journey for Ecomtent. But it's been absolutely brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks.
Awesome. So, another great conversation with Max. We will, of course, link to Max info in the show notes, which you can get along for free, along with the transcript at ecommercepodcast.net. Or if you're subscribed to the email newsletter, it will be winging its way direct to your inbox. So don't forget to check out our free e-commerce training at ecommercecycles.com. Get into that methodology. Let me know what you think. Really curious. We're just putting it out there and sharing it with the world for free because we know it works super well for our business and for others. So I'd love to know your thoughts on the whole thing. Be sure to follow the e-commerce podcast wherever you get your podcasts from because we've got some more great conversations lined up. And I don't want you to miss any of them. And in case no one has told you yet today, you are awesome. Ah, yes, you are. Created awesome. It's just a burden you have to bear. It's true of Max. It's true of me. Even in a world with AI, we're still awesome. The e-commerce podcast is produced by Orion Media. You can find our entire archive of episodes on your favorite podcast app. The team that makes this show possible is Sadaf Bainon, Josh Catchpoler, Stella Robin, and Tim Johnson. Our theme song was written by Josh Edmondson and my good self. And as I mentioned, if you would like to read the transcript or show notes, our podcast website is ecommercepodcast.net. Do check that out. So that's it from me. That's it from Max. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a fantastic week. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.